Hey there, it's Kim Peterson, and today we are going to be looking at the question, who is your Chief Relationship Officer? Now, this isn't a term that you'll hear very much, I think, because I made it up. I made it up after I was thinking a little bit about what fundraising means for a small team, like especially a small team that doesn't have a fundraiser on staff, or there's one person in an organization who's doing all of the fundraising for that organization. So I want to start off exploring this topic with two truths, and these are just truths that I work by in terms of fundraising. And the first is about relationships. Fundraising is about relationships, and that's true for every single gift, from the gift that is $20 up to the gift that is $20,000 or $200,000. None of that happens without some kind of relationship that is built. And the difference, though, is the line that you draw for the personal attention that is required to make these gifts happen. So this is true for organizations across the sector, that the majority of funds that come in are coming from individuals, are coming in from a very small number of individuals. So say for kind of a smaller organization, that might look like 5 individuals are giving 80% of the total individual contributions to an organization, and 100 other donors are giving that other 20% of that portfolio. So when looking at that, you would think that the amount of personal attention that you can give to donors, proportionally, you're going to put more of that resource, that time resource that you have, into the group that's supporting you the most. That's not to say that you ignore the other group entirely, but I think those two different groups require two sets of strengths. Looking at two segments of donors and two different sets of strengths needed to build relationships with these donors, to ask for gifts, to maintain the relationship. One's happening on a really deeply personal level, one-to-one contact, meetings, connecting with somebody and building a relationship over years. And the other kind of relationship is more at scale, talking to a larger audience, and it's really detail-oriented as well. So you see the two different sets of skills here, which leads us to the second truth, which is that fundraising is a team activity. It requires a team approach. There are a few people, and I don't think it's reasonable to have one person to possess all these strengths to approach both the larger scale donors and the larger community of donors at the same time and with the same impact and efficiency. So who is on your team when you're fundraising as an organization? Who is helping you out? If you're the only person at the organization doing this work, it is time to look around and see what other strengths and what other skills are existing around you already, and kind of plug them into your fundraising program. So we're going to be playing two strengths. The big thinkers are going to be focusing on those big fish. I don't know if I can think of a better term, but they are the ones who are going to be setting the message and the tone for the big gifts, which will also translate down into those other gifts, the ones that are coming in at the $20, $50, $100 level, whatever it is that you set up for your organization. And the detail-oriented person is going to be managing relationships for the larger number of donors, the donors who are going to be connecting with and building relationship at scale. They're going to be managing the data and the newsletter. So we're not going to ignore this group. This group is really important. First of all, the larger donors often will come from that other group. The relationship is warmed up there. And then also, this group that you're working with, they are rooting you into the community. They really make your programming stronger by getting feedback, by having people involved in it, by really being able to show that impact to your community, by your community. And this is the group too that will carry your message and amplify it as well. If you're focusing your communications only on the small group of large donors, that message isn't going to go very far. And the impact that you want to have, the difference that you want to make, is really going to be limited by just limiting your communications and your focus to that larger group. If you're on a small team, it can be really tough to prioritize fundraising because often it comes down to that one person whose job it is to organize or run the organization. Often it's the executive director, and you feel like the fundraising is all on your shoulders. So if you look at these first two parts here about the relationship building, the team building, as well as playing to the strengths of your team, you can start to see how the task of fundraising is going to be spread out a little bit more evenly. And two, if you are an ED and you're that big thinker, the person who's setting the vision, who's setting the message, and you can really focus your efforts and energy on building the relationships and cultivating and paying attention to the relationship that you're building with these smaller group of donors, it's going to be much more efficient than if you're also worrying about writing copy for email campaigns or sending out your letters or writing your newsletter or all those other things that come with building that other group of donors, which again is super important and we still have to do, even though you're kind of getting a larger return on that small group of big donors. As an ED, as the big thinker of your organization, you are also the chief relationship officer, which is a huge contribution to fundraising, but not necessarily all of fundraising. So I hope this kind of provided a different perspective on fundraising in a small organization, looking at it from a perspective of different kinds of relationships, how they're all interconnected, and how the team that you have has different strengths that can be applied to different kinds of relationships that you're building within your organization, in the realm of fundraising, in the realm of revenue generation from individuals in your community. Thanks so much for joining me on this video where we talked and explored about the concept of a chief relationship officer and how that might look like at a small nonprofit where you have no fundraisers or a small team that is doing all the fundraising. My name is Kim Peterson. I own Cedar Fundraising and I provide services to small nonprofits. You can follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to this channel. I also have a bi-weekly newsletter called Fundraising from the Ground Up. The link to join that below. See you next time.